Hi, welcome to learnhowtogarden.com. In today's episode on the 10-Minute Gardener, I'm going to be showing you a really tasty but incredibly fast way to use Brussels sprouts. If you're not already subscribed to us at Learn How to Garden, there's a link directly below this film. Click on that. It lets you access our free monthly newsletter. It means that you get to see what courses and seminars we hold, and it also means that we can let you know every single time we put up a new film. It's probably the most vilified of the veg that we have, the Brussels sprout, and yet I really like these. I've been vegetarian for, 36 years, but none of my family are. So, I mean, we have meat most days in the house, but I do struggle, and over the years I've looked and worked out recipes that use veg to their maximum. And with Brussels, I think the biggest problem is they tend to be overcooked and they're served very squidgy and very stodgy. And they also tend to be too old when they're used. I mean, one of the really intriguing things is that within 4 hours of picking the Brussels sprout, or in fact most of the cabbage, they start to deteriorate slightly. And the reason they give off the smell is they're only one molecule different to mustard gas. Fortunately, it is one molecule difference, otherwise, the decaying Brussels would kill us. But this is a fast recipe. I'm going to cook all of this in less than 6 minutes. If I run through what we've got 200 grams of Brussels sprouts. And one of the little things that makes a difference is that when you take the outside of the sprout off, if you just take this central core out, it gets rid of the tiny amount of bitterness that they can sometimes have. There's 150 grams of shallots, and it's important to use shallots because they're sweet. Please, Hattie, stop it. 4 garlic cloves. We've got 3 tablespoons of tomatoes that have been chopped up really fine. 50 grams of parmesan, 50 grams of butter, a couple of tablespoons of lightly toasted pine nuts, the zest of a lemon, and about 15 fresh sage leaves. And a pile of tagliolini. It's like tagliatelle, only it's much finer. And the first thing that I need to do is actually cut the sage leaves so they're quite small, and then I need to take the Brussels and the garlic and the shallots and cut them very fine. For this, I'm going to use a mandolin. I find it quite easy, but they are frighteningly sharp, and I won't be filming doing that for the simple reason the last time I did cut myself quite badly. So the first thing I'm going to do is just shred those 3 ingredients. We've now prepped our ingredients, so we've shredded these Brussels so they're really fine, and that's important because they're going to cook very quickly. It's almost like stir frying, but not quite. We've got shallots, which are cut as finely, and we've got the garlic that's been chopped into small pieces, and then the sage leaves I've actually cut into long thin strips. And the 6 minutes to cook consists of 2 slightly separate parts, which is really easy. The first thing you want to do is get a very large pan with a rolling boil of water in, and to that add a generous, and I mean generous, helping of salt. I use sea salt. I think it's much better. There's a lot more trace elements in sea salt, and I think it's a lot better for you. You then take a wok, and we need to switch this wok on and get it to a medium heat. Take a couple of tablespoons of oil into the wok, just a couple of knobs of the butter. And then straight into that, put your shallots and your garlic. All of those Brussels and the sage. And we start cooking this very gently for 3 minutes. After 3 minutes, we take the orange zest, the pine nuts, and the chopped tomatoes in to the stir fry pan. You take the pasta, and that goes in, and that's going to cook in 3 minutes. After 3 minutes of cooking, we drain our pasta. Try and keep a tiny bit of the moisture in this pasta. Into a nice large bowl. Add the butter and the cheese and just start to work that through while the pasta's still nice and hot. And then we add sprouts. Now I think this is a wonderfully appetising colour. Some people might not, but it's quite psychedelic really. Just put some bright red and green and just very gently work this all through. It's one of those classic dishes that doesn't look that amazing, but when you taste this, I guarantee your view of Brussels will be totally and absolutely changed. It really does transform the humble Brussels sprout in 6 minutes of cooking to something entirely different. As I say, these sort of bright reds, the bright greens of the sage, the sprouts are in there. It doesn't look, when you look at it for a start, the most appetising, but it tastes divine. You will never have tasted sprouts quite like this.